Sadly, if they will not change this, not all allowed countries are actually allowed if they don't own a PS4 or PS5. Ukraine, one of examples. This is what I got from local support. Basically, YouTube Port to Play. Thank you, Helldivers 2, Arrowhead, and Sony, for not better disclosing that the game will be locked from me if I don't own a console. I didn't even get the link account window at start, and it seems to be a trend that people that surely would get locked were the ones to not get it. Good day. Thank you for contacting PlayStation Network User Information Center. In response to your request, we would like to inform you that the registration of an account of the region of Ukraine is only possible through the console itself. The number of your appeal is shown in the subject of the letter. Please call it operator communication. When answering by email, please save the correspondence. I'm going to be real with you. There's a couple of geopolitical things you don't want to touch on the internet right now. Sony treating people in Ukraine like shit right now. That's not the play. I understand Twitter a lot. And this is probably going to be the worst possible thing that Sony can go through. This email is like a nuclear bomb. That's what this is. That email is a nuclear bomb. This email is the worst PR disaster we have ever seen at Ground Zero. We're watching this before the bomb goes off.
So, as you can see, things for Sony are going from bad to worse. It's not getting any better. And Sony's actions over the past day or so has been getting worse, from actually having some form of control, some form of upper hand. They've now completely and utterly decided that they are going to walk themselves into a PR nightmare. Now, as you can see down here, you can see that it's been delisted in 177 countries, and we're going to get to that in a second, but damn, this is really, really big. As he said here, Ukraine is one of those things that you just do not want to touch. It is one of those things that is radioactive right now, no pun intended. You just don't touch it, right? Anything you say or do will be misconstrued. It's an area of geopolitics you just don't want to get involved. And for Sony, this is absolutely worse than them doing what they did by introducing PSN. It says Sony doesn't allow Ukraine players to register PSN account without buying PS4, PS5, basically locking them out of playing Helldivers 2. So this now completely changes the landscape entirely and completely invalidates their statement on Steam, because on Steam, what they said was you need a PSN account. That was their day one, and it essentially was needed. But they don't tell you that, like in certain countries, you need to have a PS4 or a PS5 to create a PSN account. So it's now no longer free. You need to spend $500 in order to basically create a PSN account, or unless you're going to go and buy yourself a PS3 or maybe a PS4, I guess. But I guess PS3 probably won't count either, because that whole system started with the PS4, I guess. I can't remember now. This is awful. Now the tables have turned. Now Sony has really, well and truly effed up, right? This is bad. This is bad. Now, at a time when people are all over Tim Dog and his new villain arc, and we should all be pretty much having fun with this, Sony has decided that they want to, one-up Tim and basically turn this into a battle of attrition that they are not going to win. I mean, I don't see Sony backing down from this. I don't. This is awful. Now, Steam has started issuing refunds, as we can see here. The refunds have started to go out, and apparently the actual playtime limit is set to 250 hours. So if you've actually been playing your game for 250 hours, you can actually give them contact them via support and get your refund without any problem. Refunds on Steam work. Here is a good guy Steam accepting simple, straightforward logic. Sony has retroactively changed how the game works and forced legal agreement upon me. I do not accept. Now, again, I am going to reiterate, because I do want to cover both angles of this. This was known day one that it was happening. So the fact that Steam is actually giving the refunds is really nice of them, but there is a legal gray area here, which, Sony could then now go to Steam for. Obviously, as a consumer, you don't give a shit, but that's fine. But, you know, Steam being the good guys that they are doing what they can in order to try and keep themselves out of this mess as much as humanly possible. But refunds are now being given out. Now you can see over here, Sony doubles down on Helldivers 2 PSN requirement by delisting it in countries where the service isn't available. And there is a lot of countries that are basically, you know, not getting this. Like, I think it's like half the world, basically. So based on the Grand Games Radar article from earlier in the day, what is the interaction here? Auto refund or grandfathered access? Now, a lot of people assume that you would basically get, you know, those countries that don't have PSN access would get whitelisted. That actually made sense. If they don't have PSN access, they would. And in places like Ukraine, where you need a PS4, PS5 console in order to make a PSN account, you would assume that they would have actually gone as far as making sure that this was possible without a PS4 or PS5. Probably an oversight, to be fair, but at the end of the day, it's there. So this now completely puts their whole, you need a PSN account to play this game, completely out of the water. You know, it's gone into the trash now, because right now, especially in countries like Ukraine, if you don't have a console, that's a free account is no longer free. You need to pay $500 to get it, or you have to go and ask someone who has a PS5 for them to allow you to create a PSN account in order for you to create one. Now, the average person isn't going to do that. You're going to need to spend $500, and well, you're not going to do that. So you're instantly basically saying, if you want to continue playing this game, go spend another $500. It's no longer a 2-minute free account. So this has changed the landscape entirely. If we're looking at all the countries that have the game delisted right now, Helldivers 2 on Steam is now unable to be purchased in numerous countries after it was announced that a PSN login will soon be required. Steam has also been approving refund requests for players even if they've played over 2 hours. The actual figure is 250 hours. I'm guessing number crunches proved that that was the most effective number where they can keep people happy. So you can see all these countries where, you know, PSN is not available, and it's crazy, right? At least if you're going to do something like this, Sony, you need to make sure that you've got all your eggs in one basket and correct. But clearly someone did not do their homework. Someone did not do what they needed to do. And this has gone completely and utter, you know, turmoil. This is the worst situation Sony could possibly find themselves in. This is not a good place to be. And from Sony, legally, I guess, having the upper hand, now they are performing actions that are illegal. Now, I will say this as well. We've got these countries here that don't have access to PSN. And this is where, you know, last night when I was watching Alex and we were seeing other people talking about this, I get certain PlayStation fans are still trying to say, well, just go and create a 2-minute account. It's not about that. The fact is, right, this game should not have been sold in any of these countries. It should not have been available to anyone, regardless of the actual statement that this game requires PSN to play. This should have been delisted in all of these countries to make sure that this does not happen. Because then legally Sony would have been in the right to play. But now they are not. And by delisting this now and saying, well, look, it's not available anymore. Well, that's not the play here. That's not how this works. That is not what you do in order to try and prove yourself right. You don't go and do something like this. I get the whole adding the PSN later, because at the end of the day, it wasn't working at launch. It was bugged. Now, I know people don't want to understand that or don't want to listen to that, but that is the reality of it. They announced this day zero, that linking won't be available, because I was one of the ones upset that it wouldn't be available, because I wanted, you know, cross save between my PC and PS5. But it is what it is. We knew it was coming. Everyone knew it was coming. But for these countries here, this is damn right, you know, illegal. You are basically selling a product in another country under false pretenses where they can gain PSN access when they cannot. So you essentially went, got money, got people's money, and then noped and, you know, yeeted the hell out. You cannot do that. That is not how you do it. You've even got Puerto Rock here saying if Valve is actually approving refunds, I can see this get out of hand. Obviously, he's trying to make light of some of it, but essentially, even those that have bought the game that didn't like it are now, that have played it for like say 10, 15, 20 hours, they're now eligible for a refund. So this is going to not only impact Sony, but it's going to hit the sales targets of Arrowhead even harder, which will probably lead to layoffs as well. But that's an unfortunate byproduct of this. You know, Arrowhead, despite, in my opinion, fully well knowing that all of this was going to happen, probably should have raised some alarm bells as well that, you know, PSN won't be available. But at the end of the day, I can't put any real blame on Arrowhead. This has to come from head top. You know, the suits are the ones responsible for this, and the blame should be going to Sony. Now, for anyone saying that, you know, Arrowhead had no fault in this, they fully well knew that this was coming. Arrowhead could have put daily reminders into the game, onto their bulletin board, that PSN access is required for this game, it's currently not working, and it will be required. They could have done this, but they didn't. They could have put, you know, pop-up news scrolling things that they do in the game right now, saying that PSN access is required, it's currently not working, it is bugged, but it will be fixed at a later date as they fix the server issues, because that was the priority at the time. This became lower priority. There was multiple things that Arrowhead could have done to indicate that this was coming. And there are people, you know, people saying that this was just sprung on Arrowhead. That is not true. That is not how a development lifecycle works. These people get the project, you know, the project that they need to do, which is make sure this works on PSN. They have to create that infrastructure. So it was there from day zero. They built it. And then it has to go through the development and QA lifecycle. But starts off in QA, then in UAT, then staging, and then live production. So there's multiple stages here. This would have been a 4 to 6 week project, maybe longer. So they fully well knew. So when they come out and say that they were not aware of this, they are 100% lying. 100% lying. Without a shadow of doubt. I can tell you this for a fact. There's no way that they didn't know. They 100% knew. Some PC players will refund just because they don't really play the game anymore. That's exactly what's going to happen. Sony about to lose money over this, and you know, Arrowhead developers are the ones that are going to get penalized for this, not the Arrowhead suits or the Sony suits. Sony effed around and found out. Well, Sony's not really going to see any badness, but this is the thing, right? At a time when Sony could do no wrong, absolutely no wrong, they were riding high. They decided that they were going to look at Xbox and say, hey, we're tired of Xbox bad. We want to be Sony bad. And they leapfrogged everyone in one fell swoop with just this. The moment you do this in a geopolitical country that you don't want to touch in any way, shape, or form, that's it. You have hit a period. You've hit a point where this is pretty much on the path of exploding, especially in their face. Helldivers 2 update. Game is now unavailable to purchase on Steam in tons of countries due to PSN login requirement. Steam is approving refunds requests for players even if they've played over 2 hours. I wonder if that was even, you know, communicated with Sony, or if Steam is just doing this on their own. I'm going to guess that they're doing it on their own because they just do not want to get involved with this mess. This is too big of a mess. Now that, you know, Ukraine is involved, that email, he was right. That is that is something that no one wants associated with them. So Steam is going to do, you know, take any hit that they need to make sure none of this falls back on them. And that is the smart play here, folks. Over 100k negative reviews since the change was announced. Community managers are encouraging gamers to share thoughts in reviews to pressure Sony. I don't see Sony changing their minds as much as I want them to, but I just don't see it. Sony officially stopped selling the game in non-PSN countries anymore. Steam, and it's just listing all the countries. Update from the Philippines: the buy button has been removed from the Steam store for Helldivers 2. So now you're just seeing it happening all over the place. This should have been something that they did day one, not taken people's money and run off with it. And even before, I mean, this is crazy, right? This is crazy. The fact that it was there day one, that it would require PSN, and it come 2 months later, now is a completely irrelevant topic, because they sold this game in countries that simply do not have PSN. And instead of doing the right thing by those people and whitelisting this game in those countries so they can play, even if it is just for this game, they've decided to go complete and utter full shitlord and decide that what they're going to do is, hey, sucker, you're not going to play this game anymore, and we are removing it from Steam and removing any purchase. So we think we've done the right thing. No, you haven't, Sony. The right thing to do for this game is two things. Number one, those countries that are affected, like Ukraine and everywhere else in that list that there is, and it's a big list, right? It's not a small list. It's a big, big list. We're talking massive here, right? Any one of these countries would instantly get whitelisted for now or indefinitely until PSN is officially released in their country. Or two, clearly you didn't anticipate this game being overly successful because you put this PSN app requirement, sign-in requirement on the back burner because it was low priority, because you believed that this game would be a flop. That's the only reason why it became a low priority. But if that's the case, take it on the chin and just don't require it for this game only. And going forward, from Ghost of Tsushima and everything else that's coming along, make it a legal, make it a requirement that you must have it, and make sure that is communicated in every way, and remove it from the countries that do not have PSN access. That's it. That is the right thing to do. One of those two options. If you want to go like kind of shitlordy, at least whitelist them. But turning around and saying, well, you can't play it and we've taken your money, that's wrong. And this is why Steam right now is refunding everyone, because they don't want anything to do with this. And they damn well do not want anything to do with this, right? They damn well do not want anything to do with this. This right here, in response to your request, we would like to inform you that the registration of an account of the region of Ukraine is possible only through the console itself. That's not on. There should be ways for you to do this. And Xfault came out and released a tweet the other day how he spoke to PlayStation support saying, hey, can you create an account and put your region as another one for those countries that aren't thing? And PlayStation support apparently turned around and said, yes, you can. That is against terms of service. You are not allowed to do that. That is against terms of service. So why the Sony representative said that, did they even say that, or did he Photoshop it? I don't know, but that's scummy, man. That's on par with what Sony's doing, if not worse. You're now trying to get people's accounts banned as well by trying to deceive them. Xfault, you should be ashamed of yourself. That is below bar, man. Don't do that shit. But this right here, this is radioactive. This right here is radioactive. You do not want to do that. And Sony effed up. Now, I've released a couple of videos, a React video, where I've said and stood by the fact that this was known day one, that it was coming and it was bugged. Now, I will be a straight shooter, and that is what the situation was. But the people that didn't have access to the game, and I've said this in that video as well, should not have been able to purchase this in the first place. The fact that they have been means that Sony messed up. And those people are either due a refund or should be whitelisted. And in my personal opinion, they should be whitelisted so people can continue playing the game that they've invested a lot of time in and actually fell in love with. We all love games. That's what we're here for. And at the end of the day, this is a mistake by Sony and should be fixed by Sony, and should not be, Steam or anyone else should not be responsible to fix this. So whitelisting those countries would have been the easiest option, at the very least, if they still wanted to push ahead with PSN. Secondly, the most simple option is just for this game only. Yes, it's going to hit them hard because they clearly want those MAUs, right? It's got nothing to do with them wanting your data. It's clearly they want those MAUs. Take this on the chin. It's a loss. Move on. Concord is coming. require it for Concord, and require it for Ghost of Tsushima, and require it for the next Spider-Man game that's coming along, and any other single-player game and multiplayer game that's going to come along that will mandatorily require PSN access. Eventually, it's going to go to the PS launcher anyway. But this isn't it, man. This isn't it. And, you know, despite all my videos and stuff, this one here, you know, this here, it's no longer a free option. It's $500. And, you know, it's going to cost even more being like in other foreign countries because of the currency exchange rate. You know, it's impossible for some people. No one's going to pay that much money for this sort of shit. This is wrong and should be treated as such. This is not it. Anyway, that's my rambling. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know in the comment section below what you think, what your thoughts are. I still think Sony should, at this point, especially with this on their hands, on their doorstep, waiting to go nuclear, they should absolutely just easily, just call the whole thing off. This right here is what you don't want on your doorstep. You do not want a ticking bomb. You do not want this. Because this ain't it, man. This is the stuff of PR nightmares. And I'm sure right now there are loads of people in that PR room with Sony trying to find a solution to this, and the solution is simple. Whitelist or just remove the requirement for this one game. That's it. All future games will have it, whether people like it or not. But for this one, they can just remove it because it wasn't their day one. They didn't make it in time. Regardless of whether people were notified of that happening, whatever, just take it on the chin. The fact that you sold it in countries that shouldn't have had it in the first place, that's where you truly and utterly messed up. And you knew that this was going to be a requirement. So the fact that you knew, you purposefully sold it there, that's borderline fraud. If not, it is fraud. You sold a product with the false intention of them being able to play it when you fully well knew that they wouldn't be able to play it. I don't know. Let me know in the comment section below what you think. Let's have that discussion, and I will see you in the next one. As always,